Do, 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 do. All right. What is going on, everybody? We are live. How's it going? I hope your day is going well. As you can tell by the title, this is just going to be a chill stream, which means we are basically just going to be doing stuff that I would ordinarily do off of stream that I didn't have time to get to, aka some Raid Shadow Legends and possibly some Hearthstone, maybe some Apex. I don't know. We'll just have to see and find out. But yeah, dude, it was so yesterday, I got off a stream and then immediately started doing all the other stuff that I needed to do and then tried to go to the gym. I ended up getting to the gym. I think, excuse me. I think at around like 6 o'clock, and basically was there till they closed. Um, I didn't realistically work out that long. I was just there and then ended up talking to people towards the end. So I basically spent like over an hour talking to people. Um, yeah, dude. They brought some things to my knowledge that are just absolutely beyond messed up. I don't know how much I can talk about without like YouTube taking this down. I mean, realistically, I'm a small enough channel that it shouldn't matter. But eventually, if my channel ever does get big, um, this video will definitely be purged from it. Like 100% will be purged from it. How did I get 8th place? What? Sorry. I got 8th place in this tournament. Oh, I didn't even know I did any part of the tournament. I didn't know I did it even once. So I didn't know why I got 8th place. Okay. Um. All right. New tournament here, which is Classic Arena. Got it. Um. Yeah. So, essentially, in Afghanistan, we had about 20,000 or 25,000, I think was the number, Afghani nationals that were actively helping us with like translating and domestic stuff basically over there. Um, well, now apparently, there's a mass exodus of Afghanistan for obvious reasons. The regime that we were fighting for so long has now completely taken over in a matter of weeks. Um, or a matter of actually days. And hey, what's up, comrade? Um, I kind of forgot what I was saying. My ADHD is really bad today, so I saw that and like completely forgot what my train of thought was. Um, oh yeah, the thing that's messed up about the whole thing is that we had 25,000 Afghani nationals that were actively helping us in translating and other domestic affairs over in Afghanistan. Well, apparently they're trying to bring in 200,000 Afghani nationals um into America. So how do we go from 25,000 that actually want to help us to bringing in 200,000? Cuz the thing is that I could understand supporting the people that supported us. I'm perfectly fine with all 25,000 of those people that were helping us coming into our country and us taking care of them because they took care of us over there. But and I'd be fine with their kids and women and children. But 25,000 to 200,000, I'm pretty sure that those 25,000 do not have 200,000 or do not have 175,000 women and children and kids that they are married to and taken care of. So yeah, I don't understand how that number got that inflated that quick, but that's what they're trying to do right now. Um, and it wouldn't worry me so much, except for the fact that ISIS, in a press release, I'd have to pull it up because I don't remember how many years ago, but it was several years ago. Um, said had a statement, a public statement, basically saying that and it wasn't even a threat. This was, I believe, in order to keep people in their own country. They basically said that you will never be able to take a foreigner from this country into your country without having to worry about it being a terrorist. they wanted, and I think that that has two results of them saying that. The two results being that it makes every country not want to accept in Afghanis, and it makes it to where Afghanis think that, well, if none of these countries are going to accept us because of what ISIS said, then where do we go? We have to stay here, and it keeps them under the boot of the terrorists, essentially. So, yeah, so that does worry me that now we went again from 25,000 to 200,000. That's it's a bit of a jump, and I don't know. I don't I'm distrustful of every government program. So I'm just automatically assuming that this isn't going to be screened properly. Um but then we go a step further, which is that so far we've already started taking people into the country. Which is fine, except for the fact that so far every person that they've taken in from Afghanistan, they've shipped to specifically not 3 states but 3 districts in the US. And you might be wondering, well, what's a district in the US? Specifically, the only time people really reference districts in the US is when they're talking about voting. Yeah, they sent them to 3 specific districts. Um, and what's weird about it is I'm not going to say who these 3 districts voted for in the last election, but they did all vote for the same person. So it's just kind of interesting that that they were sent all of these people that we are taking, these asylum seekers supposedly, um, all these people got sent to 3 specific districts, very small areas in the U.S. Now, sure, they may move out of those areas, which hopefully they do spread out, because anytime you put a pocket of people somewhere, um, it's bad for. And I'm not trying to come across as bigoted in saying this, but it's usually better generally for people's mental health that whenever they move somewhere, they try to assimilate into the country that they are trying to live in now for the rest of their life and trying to rear kids in. Um, but, you know, whenever you move a massive amount of people to one area, they tend to clump up and not want to assimilate, which you can argue is a good and a bad thing. But, you know, then we end up with a lot of bad situations. There's a lot of, you know, dealing with assimilation is hard. That's part of the reason why it's so hard for, like, we call ourselves a big melting pot. Well, for there to be a melting pot, there has to be some sort of assimilation. Otherwise, we're not a melting pot, we're a stew with several chunks of different ingredients. A melting pot would suggest, you know, like a fondue, like a cheese, right? It's all melted into a fine. There's 15 different types of cheeses, but it's just a cheese goo. That's what a melting pot suggests. When there's no assimilation, it's a stew. It's we're all generally in the same broth, but there's big chunks of different ingredients. It's not, you know. And anyways, so I'm just saying, for what we thought of our country in the 90s, we are nowhere near that now. The other thing is, again, I am perfectly fine with accepting all 25 people that helped us in the war, but accepting 200,000 at this point, that means we're not just accepting people that helped us. And if you look at the laws for what asylum seeking is, for them to seek asylum, the law states that they have to go to the next closest country that is safe. Afghanistan to the U.S., there are numerous countries they have to pass over to get to us for them to legally be seeking asylum. So at this point, they're not legally seeking asylum, but I can't blame them either if the U.S. is just saying, yeah, we'll take everybody. Of course you're going to go to the U.S. Like, regardless of if you want to do something bad to the U.S. or not, I'm going to go to the U.S. instead of Pakistan, right? Like, Pakistan would be the next closest country, and you could argue whether or not that's safe or not. I personally wouldn't say it is, but by the letter of the law, it technically would be. But then if you determined it not to be, then you just go to the next country. But yeah, if it was Pakistan or the U.S., of course I'm going to the U.S. But yeah, it's a really weird situation that all of them got sent to 3 specific districts in the US. It was kind of weird. Um so yeah, anyways, what am I needing to do here? I need to do champion training and classic arena. Those are the only pretty much 2 things I need to do here. Um but yeah, anyways, that's what we were talking about last night. And yeah, it's just it's weird times we're living in. And I'm just hoping that everything goes good in that situation, cuz I'm not necessarily worried about domestic terror increasing with the massive influx of Afghani people. Um but I'm not worried about a massive influx, but I am saying that ISIS already said that they would be shipping anytime you get an Afghani national, that you'll have to worry about it being a terrorist. That's what ISIS said themselves. So it wouldn't surprise me if there is a at least not a substantial increase, but at least an increase in domestic terror. Yeah, it's a very very interesting situation that we're living in. So hopefully nobody watching this lives in those 3 districts. I'm not trying to say get out, but I'm trying to say that, I mean, it's a concern. So watch yourself. Don't don't be a victim. Be active in your defense of your own life and freedom. Uh, you know, just be careful. Watch yourself. But anyways, aside from that, there's a bunch of stuff going down in the UK too that is in the news that is kind of crazy when it comes to taxes over there. They've approved a lot of spending on things that, I mean, of course it's the government, so it should be blatantly obvious to everybody. No new story here, but of course they're taking more money to spend it on more things that have, at this point, the biggest thing that everybody's mad about in the UK that I'm watching news on anyways is about there's no way to actually have a qualification for the position in which they are hiring. They're looking for a job that, like, you can't get a college degree for. You can't do, like, there's no way to prove you're qualified for the position. They're just hiring people. So it's like, oh, and they're hiring people for like $75,000 for the job. It's like, okay, well, a nurse on average makes way less than that. We're having problems with COVID right now. How about we spend all that money on these hires to hire some nurses instead? Um, but I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, every dollar the government spends, there's going to be a disagreement over how it's spent. So I mean, it's just another thing to complain about. But it is interesting that COVID is such a big deal, but they're not hiring nurses. They're hiring this other job that appears to be fairly not necessarily useless. I will agree, but uh, fairly abstract in requirements. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to be as kind as I can to it, but it does appear to be very very corrupt. But it is what it is. Every government's corrupt around the world. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's what we were talking about. And then we were talking about just in general the parallels between the times we're living in and prediction of very tragic events, and how we are very much headed down that road. And yeah, apparently one of the other things that led to that conversation was that apparently Biden is now is trying to make it to where it is required that anybody that works with or for the government has to get a vaccine, or, and this is the biggest part that people keep leaving out on the right, which drives me nuts, or you have to get a negative COVID test every week. So there is an exception. You do not have to get the vaccine, but the company doesn't necessarily have to pay for you to get those COVID tests. So is it worth it for you to pay for a COVID test literally every week just to keep your job? I don't know. It is still pressure that I do not like to force medication on somebody that may or may not need it. There is the biggest thing about the whole thing that drives me nuts is there is no exception for whether or not how. So here's the thing: a lot of people got these COVID vaccines back in the beginning of this whole thing, like the day they offered the vaccine, and then didn't get a COVID vaccine card because they were just like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to go into Walgreens, get the shot, and then just walked out. They didn't get a vaccine card because they didn't need one. So there's no way to actually prove you got the shot unless you happen to save like a receipt or took a video or whatever. And even then, will they accept that as evidence? I don't know. These cards can be counterfeited. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that like it's a very bad way to handle this because like the thing is instead of paying for a COVID test, a negative COVID test every week, instead what would make a whole lot more sense is they just do an antibody test. Doesn't matter if you got the antibody from natural immunities or the vaccine because both are fairly equal. As long as you've got antibodies, then we'll test you again for antibodies, and I think antibodies on average last for about 6 months, and then at that point your white blood cells ideally have taken over to the point where you don't like have direct immunity, you just have better overall immunity to corona type viruses. But yeah, so maybe because here's the thing is that they don't know the research they don't know for sure if your antibodies, like if you've got antibodies, the reason why they're so let me put it this way. The reason why they're recommending a booster at this point right now, I believe everything changes so fast in the landscape, but I believe at this point they're recommending getting a booster every 6 months to your COVID vaccine. The reason why they're recommending that is because your antibodies on average will fade in 6 months on average. So what they should do is test maybe every 4 months or every 2 months, arguably, whether or not you've got antibodies. And then once they've figured out when you ran out of antibodies, then, and maybe there's a threshold, you don't need to completely run out. Once you've gotten to a low enough number, then you go in and get the booster. And if the booster lasts 6 months, you don't need to get any other tests for any other tests or any other things until 6 months from then. But apparently natural immunity, naturally produced antibodies, and vaccine antibodies are not equal in today's day and age. Doesn't make sense to me. They're both antibodies. Like your body, like they're in your body, and they're like it doesn't make any sense to me. The idea of skipping past that and just going straight to we're gonna test you every week for COVID. Bro, what if they got the vaccine and lost their card? They have immunity, but I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me if you're actually trying to protect people from COVID. That's my point. If you're actually trying to protect people from COVID, then you should do an antibody test. If they can't produce a vaccine card, you should do an antibody test, not a COVID test, and require the individual to pay for the COVID test. And this does directly affect me in the sense that, not me in that sense, but it affects my family, directly affect my family in the sense that my stepdad works for the city that he lives in. And that city, because he is a government employee, is now requiring that he get a COVID test every week when he has already had COVID. He had it really bad. They were considering bringing him to the hospital. I don't remember if they ever actually did take him to the hospital. So it's like he's got antibodies, and they can't prove whether or not because there was another thing that was if you naturally got COVID and got over it and you have antibodies, there were some scientists saying that it would not be good for you to go out and get a vaccine on top of your naturally produced antibodies. It would be like getting COVID, getting over COVID, and then immediately trying to get COVID again. It wouldn't necessarily be the best situation for you. It would be like going to get a vaccine and then a week later going to get a vaccine again. Your body can only handle so much, and it's not necessarily the best idea. So there are some scientists saying that certain vaccines, because there is a difference between the Johnson & Johnson and the Pfizer, they are saying that certain vaccines, I'm not going to try and spread any information in this regard because I don't remember exactly, but there are some scientists saying that you probably shouldn't get the vaccine if you've already had COVID for a certain period of time. I'm sure now that they're saying the 6 months thing, they'd say for 6 months, after COVID, after you get COVID, you shouldn't get the vaccine. I'm sure then they might have changed their tune in that regard. But it's like, it's one of those things. It's like, it just doesn't, like, if it was about COVID, if it wasn't about political BS, if it was about COVID, you'd be fine with accepting an antibody test, not a COVID test. But it's not about COVID anymore. Like, I don't see how you can say that it's about anything other than political BS and forcing medicine on people that do not want it. At this point, either everybody who hasn't gotten the vaccine at this point is one of three situations. They either naturally got COVID and are waiting till they should get the booster. They either don't want it, so they're just not straight up not going to get it, or their doctor has advised them not to get it. And like I said, to these government rules requiring these shots, there is no medical exception or exemption. There is a medical exemption for, like, obviously, like, there's a medical exemption for wearing a mask or whatever. There's a medical exemption for the average citizen. But if you want to stay employed at this place, you have to get the shot. Even if your doctor says, no, here's the reasons why this shot is not good for you. That is insane. So you are discriminating on someone's medical history. If you have a medical disability, you're discriminating on them on the basis of their medical disability. They cannot get this shot according to their doctor because of a medical disability. That is weird that you would discriminate on that and be fine with that. I don't know. Especially when there is an option. There is an option to, hey, we don't need to fire you right now. We'll give you 6 months because you've got antibodies because you got COVID. Even though you can't get the shot, you still have enough antibodies that will let you work here for another few months. Like, I don't understand why it became something that it is. I don't understand why it became what it is now, if it is truly about protecting people. I don't know. Anyways, we have set up the clan boss run, so that's going to run for a while. And then now we're back to this account. But yeah, it's weird times we're living in, man. It is really weird times that we're living in when it comes to some of the things that are being done while being said. Like, it very much seems like a magician where they're saying, don't pay attention to the thing going on over here. This is what I want your focus to be on. And they're doing the magic trick back here. That kind of thing. But yeah, so that was another part of the conversation, is about I will always lean on the side of freedom in the sense of small government. Whenever the government, like, if a business wants to require you to show a vaccine card, I am perfectly fine with that, because you, as a citizen, have every right to not go there. I am not okay with the government requiring it. That's where I draw the line. Is private business, do whatever you want within the legal limits. U.S. government requiring it, that's where I disagree with it. So if you're wondering where my line is drawn personally. But the reason why I'm fine with that too, though, is not just because if they ask for your vaccine card, you have every right to just leave and not go to that business. It also is providing a service. There are some people that are super paranoid and scared of this situation. I think more than they reasonably should, but there are people that are legitimately scared of this. They should have a safe space. If they know this business is a safe space, as much as it realistically can be in the midst of supposedly a pandemic, then they should have the ability and access to that safe space if a business wants to provide it. There's no reason, to me, for the government to infringe in the way that they are doing on people's ability to move. I'm not going to say rights, because that term is way overused in modern day right now. There's a lot of people. It's funny because there's a lot of people referring to things as rights that are not rights, and there are a lot of people referring to things as being not just rights, but referring to things as not being justified as being a right that are rights. So you want to get rid of certain rights that we have, while you are calling things that are not rights rights. It's like I think you've completely got this backwards. You believe this is a right and it's not, and you believe this shouldn't be a right and it is. I don't know. I'm gonna go with I think the papers that kept this country in line for so long as being kind of a good thing, and the papers that made this country what it is kind of being a good thing. Doesn't mean it can't change, because obviously it's a living document, is the term people use, and so it can change. But I'm saying that the reason why the government is so bloated partially is to slow it down from rapid change that is not reflective of the true times. Because if you notice, there's a lot of people that believe that the political lens has shifted really far to one side or the other. I really don't believe it has. I just think that well, I guess, yeah, the political lens, using that term, it has, in the sense that I don't believe people have changed that much. I believe the crazies, it's a bell curve, right? Or sorry, it's a bell curve, right? I believe the crazies that are on each end have been able to draw the lens to them, and have therefore, because they're now crazy and getting press for being crazy, they've now become more crazy. I think the average person is fairly fairly consistent to where they were 10 years ago, but they are more politically active. So it is the bell curve is still kind of the same, but it is starting to flatten out and get more people on the crazy ends. But we are still fairly normal. I just hope that it doesn't flatten completely out and all we've got is just a bunch of crazy people. I mean, it obviously can't completely, because we're talking about a bell curve of people's thoughts, and there will always be demographics of people that will keep a lump somewhere in that bell curve. But anyways, yeah, it was just it's just a very interesting times that we're living through. Let me just leave it at that. On that note, it says that there's two people in the live stream. Comrade, I'm assuming you're still here. Possibly not, but if there are not two people in the live stream, I've got my yogurt right there that I am supposed to eat for breakfast that I still have yet to eat. So I probably should eat that, but I don't want to be like eating in front of your face if there is somebody actually watching this. I just think that it might say there's two, even though there's not. There's no way for me to know. Where does it say that people are watching? Let me check that. Let me look. It says that there is one person watching on Twitch. Okay. And one person watching on YouTube. Okay. Well, hello to the both of you. I'm gonna eat my yogurt now. I should probably mute myself, and because I am going to be eating yogurt and muting myself, I'm gonna play some music. Actually, I could play I could try and keep playing that podcast. Let me keep playing that Joe Rogan podcast. I'll unmute and talk about it whenever they say something. It'll be less than what I was normally doing last time I did a segment about this, but there we go. Um, it'll be less than last time. I'll be talking less than last time, but I'll still talk every once in a while. I'm just gonna.
It's not sustainable. Like if the entire world were taking fish oil.
Oh wait, I need to.
So there's.
I need to change here to here and here and.
There's other.
There we go.
We got to figure out other ways, to like get these omega-3s.
That argument is always odd to me because, yeah, the entire world, it's not sustainable. But is it available to you right now? Yes. So, like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand those arguments because, like, you can't convince the whole world to do certain things. Now, if the whole world started taking omega supplements and then it became a real issue with, supply and demand, but they're not. So like I get so confused when people want everything to be sustainable to the whole world. Like when I've told people like I think that eating wild game is healthier, they'll go, yeah, but that's not sustainable for the whole world. Like the whole world's not doing a lot of things. The whole world's not exercising. The whole world, like, listen, I'm just talking about what's available for you currently as a human being listening to this. Like, is it available for 8 billion people? No, it is not. But guess what? You're not going to motivate 8 billion people to do anything anyway.
Right. Oh,
So
it's
that
funny you mentioned that.
conversation is bananas to me because people always want to use it as an excuse to not do something healthy.
True. Did you know about, you mentioned the wild game, and like if we could go back to omega-3, I'd love to, but like I've looked at some studies. So when the pandemic hit, I like bought a bunch of like, wild elk and like claim to be wild,
It's definitely not.
Okay.
It's all from New Zealand, most of it.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was buying that, and then I was buying like pasture raised, this and that, of course. And so we looked into like the differences of like, looking at like vitamin and mineral profiles and, the omega-3 fatty acid profiles and the fat and the macronutrient protein, all that. And like elk, for example, wild elk, like wild game, like you're getting, it's interesting. It does have like higher concentrations of some like minerals and micronutrients like zinc. Like, so you're getting like a much higher level of some of those things. It has higher levels of omega-3, like ALA and some of the omega-3 fatty acids certainly compared to conventional. But anyways, yeah, I mean, in a way, if you define health,
You're also not getting a lot. So this is one of the things that science has been finding is that you're also not getting a lot of like bad cholesterol and a lot of the unhealthier the fat you are consuming, obviously the worse it is for your body. So raising animals on this terrible cheap food to get them fat, they are getting fat in an unhealthy way. It is an unhealthy fat. So it's not only better for you in the sense that it's usually higher in trace minerals. Usually the fat is a healthier fat. It is a seasonal layer of fat. They'll be more fatty depending on when you kill them. And you're also not getting as much nasty. Think about it this way. If you're eating an animal, you're eating all the things that their body has processed before they die. So if they're eating trash, you're essentially eating a filtered version of that trash. But yeah, I'm going to go back to eating my yogurt. Somebody left. I don't blame you. But this is why it's labeled as a chill stream. There's stuff I got to do. Like I got to eat my yogurt for the day. So I'm sorry to the person that left on YouTube, but I got to eat. I'm sorry.
healthier as more micronutrient packed.
It's healthier. Yeah. It's also, it just looks healthier. If you look at it, like the other day I cooked a piece of beef and then I cooked a bunch of elk, and my family was, we're eating both. And we're looking at the elk versus the beef. The elk, it's so dark. It's so dark and rich, and it just, you can't eat as much. Like, you get full quicker. Like, your body gets satisfied by it quicker. But it's also, there's just whatever is causing it to be so dark. It's quite evident when you look at it that one of them is more attractive to you.
Right. I don't know if it's as simple as like the stuff that you buy at the supermarket's just oxidizing out in the air.
It's just the diet, because if you get grass-fed meat, it's a darker meat.
Not always. It's also the method in which the animal's killed can also affect. Like, talking about darkness and satiating, just simply the spices in which you use to cook it and the method in which you use. Like, if you steam broil, and the meat was relatively dry, and you put a bunch of spices in the water that you're steaming it in, or you smoke it, like, meat being darker raw, can also be due to the method in which the meat was harvested. That can affect it too, and the cut of meat can obviously affect it too. So, like, I don't know if darkness and satiatingness is necessarily the best metric to go by here, but anyways.
Like grass-fed beef is quite a bit darker. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef is much darker and has much less fat, and it looks much more like, and it tastes much more like game. Some people do not like the taste of grass-fed meat because it actually tastes like meat. When you're getting grain-fed cows, which is what most people love, you get that juicy, like really fatty meat. That's a dying animal. That's an animal that, you know, if you just let it eat like that, it would just tip over and have a fucking heart attack.
Well, they've compared it. You're right. It is like the
Yes.
conventional is fattier as well. And before 2017, like that's for a long time, I was like the main reason I was avoiding conventional meat was because, you know, these, I don't know what you call them, these farmers, the ones that are growing, like having the cows all packed in and they're, you know, farming them. Factory farm.
Yeah.
They were feeding them antibiotics, not because they had an infection, but because it made them bigger, right? Like
That's why they fed them antibiotics?
oh yeah. So the FDA in 2017, you didn't know about this? So
I thought
they
it was
banned.
as a reaction to the issues that they were having by eating corn.
Well, some I'm sure some factory farmers were doing it for that, but by and large, like there was a huge effect if you gave like a cattle or you know one of these animals antibiotics. It like made them grow bigger.
I wonder why.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Hmm.
But it was like causing.
The projection of why the animals got bigger is because well, again, she said she doesn't know. I probably should go on the line of I don't know either. But one of the reasons supposedly why is because it mimicked a lot of these antibiotics are not what we traditionally think of as antibiotics, and in cows mimic steroids. And also some of the more traditional antibiotics that are given to cows also reduce the amount of stress in whenever they're developing. So, like, if you think about it, if a sickly child, a child that is sick all throughout their childhood, usually grows up to be smaller in stature and overall health whenever they become an adult. Kind of the same thing with cows. A sickly cow is obviously not going to grow up to be as big as a healthy one. So that's part of it. So yeah, that's the quick 2-part answer of potentially why. But I don't know if there's like a scientific 100% this is exactly why. I think it's a multifaceted answer. And that's the 2 parts that I've read up on in the past.
Antibiotic resistance like was going through the roof because it was like leaking into like all the water supplies and not to mention
so scary to me.
We-
Antibiotic resistance is so scary to me because I know several friends that have had MRSA infections, and they are absolutely terrifying. Because when you do get MRSA, like friends that have had staph infections and it got really bad, the doctors tell you, like, this is touch and go. Like, you have to be in the hospital on an IV drip of antibiotics for weeks. I had a friend who was in there for weeks, and he is a young, healthy black belt in jiu-jitsu. He got a MRSA infection on his knee. They had to cut his knee open like a fish, like pull it to the side to drain it and like to constantly clean it. It was horrific. He almost died, and he was in his 20s. And he really healthy, really active, elite athlete.
yeah, MRSA will take anyone down. That's I agree. That's scary.
And that's a direct result of antibiotics. Of the
It is.
use of antibiotics has created this strain of really potent staph.
And believe it or not, a lot of it was coming from this agricultural use of it.
Really?
And so the FDA shut that down. They said in 2017 because of antibiotic resistance, if you're a factory farmer, whatever, you can't give your animal antibiotics unless it's prescribed by a veterinarian and they have an infection that you're trying. Now you might find people still doing it. You can find veterinarians that'll give you anything, right? So, but they put the kibosh on that. I'm like,
so these animals, they were feeding them just to get them bigger,
Yes.
and it was causing strains of antibiotic resistant the staph or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Bacteria.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one good thing that since 2017, which isn't that long ago.
How was that making the jump to people?
I mean, it was getting into the water supplies. You know, I think it was just causing these strains to become resistant, and then the strains come to people.
It's arguable whether or not that's true. And let me just put the argument out there. There's an argument that the reason why the so this is a hotly debated topic. But I'm just gonna say the counterpoint. Just so that way you have both views. There are some people like her saying that hey, what's going on? How you? HU, I'm assuming that's what that means. How am I? I'm doing well, man. Just chilling, playing some Raid Shadow Legends. Right now we have my main account, getting in some clan boss, and we have my secondary account, farming up some food here, man. How are you, man? Just chilling, watching the Joe Rogan Experience, and I was eating some food here. But yeah, that's what we're doing. Do you play chess? I haven't in a long time. I haven't played chess. I used to be decent, but I was never to the point of like qualifying for a ranking. I was never that good. I could beat most apps on like expert, but that was about it. But I was never like good at chess. Chess. Why did I add a T to the end of it? But yeah, I'm assuming you do play chess. Um, is that why you're asking? Um, oh yeah, and as far as I was gonna say what the argument is. There's an argument that she's bringing up, which is that cows, just by nature of having antibiotics, you're releasing more biotics into the ecosystem through excretion. The other argument is that by humans consuming the meat that has been raised on these antibiotics, that is what's leading us to basically having a steady state of antibiotics in our system, which is what's more so causing antibiotic resistance and things that we are getting. That's the other side of this argument. But let's play chess. I mean, I'm not really that good at it, and I also don't have a chess app downloaded on my computer. Is there like a Windows chess thing? There is. Oh, it says board game. Best match app. Do I have a chess app? Yeah, I don't have a chess app. I'm assuming there might be a free one on like Steam or something, but I'm not trying to go through downloading all that right now. I really need to shut all this stuff down here in the next like 10 minutes. So I'm not trying to download the new game. I'm sorry, man, but I would play chess with you if I had an app. I might have an app on my phone. Let me check my phone too, right quick, because I can screen link my phone to my computer. So if I have a chess app that has, do I have? Let me see. CHESS. I do not have a chess app on my phone anymore either. So yeah, I'm sorry, man. It would shock me that it didn't. Although, let me check something because it shocks me that I don't have a chess app. How do I go to settings? Type search. No. I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking for here, and then I'm looking for apps, and then. Oh, wait a minute! I just realized that this entire stream has been set up on the wrong resolution. I just realized that. Wow. I'm an idiot. There we go. I'm an idiot. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so I'm assuming I would see a picture that would remind me of what it is if I do have a chess app. Okay, so yeah, no, I don't think I have a chess app. Sorry, man. Um, challenge link. You don't have to sign in or create an account. Haha. I don't like going on browser-based games. They tend to have access to more things than you know whenever accessing their services. Obviously, when you accept that cookie policy, you can be accepting a policy that has some pretty crazy stuff in it. So, um, I mean, is there a Google one that I mean? See, my thing is like if I knew of that name and had done research into it, I would be more likely to trust it. But I don't generally trust things that um I have done no research on, which I have not done research on. Challenge link. Let me look that up. Challenge link chess.com. Okay. Create challenge via URL. Form chess. How do I play with a friend? Mm, chess.com. I'm Googling it right now. Challenge League. Let's see. Mm-mm-mm. I don't know. Some of the stereotypical searches that I would do that would pop up with results that I'm looking for, um, pop up with like all articles from their website. So it kind of worries me that that's like they're trying to get out in front of something. I don't know. One second. Before I do that, let me do. Let me grab here. Oh yeah, the other thing is too is like I said, I'm planning on getting off. I said that at 10 minutes. We're now 6 minutes away from me planning on getting off. And even if I did, at this point, I think I'm gonna just have to say not today. I'm sorry, man. I do have it on my phone though, so I will continue to do my research. If you come back into another stream on a different day where I'm just chilling and not playing a specific game, um, I'll try to have looked into it more. But the other thing is that I don't play speed chess, like or not speed. I don't know what they call it now at this point, but where you have the clock and you're trying to do fast moves. So I don't think we'd actually have time to get in a full game of chess. But you can open it in BlueStack. Oh yeah, I could download a Blue. I could do a BlueStacks app. Let's see. Which account is this? This is the secondary account. I'll go ahead and install one, but let me see. And then you said it is challenge link. Oh wait, no, this isn't what I'm looking for. I need to do. All right, that's fine with what it's doing. Google Play. So that's what I need to do. And then I need to go to. This is gonna make me download it. You can open it through BlueStacks in what way? Because I think this is not the way to download it. Okay, I didn't click on anything, so why that opened up like that? That's weird. Anyways, chess, learn to play. That looks like their same icon. Learn to play chess.com. This isn't challenge link. This is just chess.com. Let's see, chess.com. Huh. Chess.com. There's a lot of this chess.com one. Oh, it's clicking because of the auto clicker here. Huh. You said you can open it through BlueStacks. I don't see how to do that. But hey, man, I need to actually get out of here earlier than expected. Something I need to go do. If you join the Discord, though, you are on YouTube. So if you go to my channel page, there should be the banner and then some links there. There is a link there to my Discord. I don't know if there's still a link in the description to the Discord. But if you want to join the Discord, excuse me, If you want to join the Discord, that would be a way to keep in contact with me other than just through YouTube. But yeah, I got to get out of here right quick because I need to answer that. So, and I've got to go immediately at 4 anyways. So for right now, it is, hey, I see you on the Discord. All right, let's see. Just join the server. I got you. All right. I will be back, or I'll be able to talk to you. Okay, I'm joining. Sweet. All right. I'll talk to you in the Discord, but I do have to get off the stream. See you guys in